So I'm here in Buenos Aires, and while the flight to California wasn't turbulent, our long-term holdings in BigBear.AI definitely have been. In fact, it's been having a pullback recently, but despite the pullback, it's still in an overall uptrend, and it has a major potential catalyst with the government reopening here in the near term. But here's the kicker. If Big Bear AI closes above $7.50 by November 15th, you can get Stockmate absolutely free. That's right. If you want to join our daily live sessions, you get in before tomorrow at market open, and Big Bear AI closes above $7.50 by the 15th of this week, then you get Stockmate for free. All you have to do is use the second link in the description below, and you get access to our daily live trading, and you can even keep the free t-shirt if you win. So last time we ran this, we had nearly a dozen Stockmates who got lifetime access for free. And that's the beauty of it, because I have calls that I'm opening up here on Big Bear AI. And if I win big, then you win too. And if you lose, you still win because you're getting the daily live trading sessions with us Monday through Friday. Again, it's the second link below. Make sure to check the page because there are some restrictions that apply, of course, and you want to get in before market open tomorrow. Let's jump into Big Bear AI stock. We've seen it pull back again from about $9.50 down to the support around $5.50. This is the 200-day moving average. So when we started to see Big Bear AI take off back in November, and it surged as high as $10 a share by February of this year, then we saw it pull back down to the 200-day moving average. The whole market pulled back at this point. And then you started to see more government contracts. We saw Air Force contracts. You saw the deployments of their Veriscan at international airports throughout the summer. And then you see them surge to about $8.75 a share by July. That's when they cooled back off. And then they've started to develop this kind of back and forth. And overall, they're in an uptrend over the last year, but they have pulled back down to this 200-day moving average recently. And they have earnings coming up here tomorrow, which are going to be very important for us to focus on. We also have Rigetti stock reporting earnings tomorrow, which, as you guys know, we've been following Quantum. We got some positions over there that we're watching very closely right now. And this is broken down into three kind of outlooks. The first major impact on Big Bear AI is going to be the markets. So when it comes to Big Bear AI's market right now, they're particularly in the government's defense contracts, and they serve TSA, they serve the airports, the ports of entry with AI biometrics that are able to essentially see all the people that come in and out of that point of entry and do AI analysis on where they're coming from, where they're going, all that stuff. And you can see that TSA has a lot of different articles that are coming out for contracts related to this. And if you look at the purpose of request for information from TSA, you'll see that the main focus is incorporate AI-driven threat detection, reduce reliance on manual labor, improve passenger satisfaction, and when you get down into it, AI and machine learning driven threat detection for carry-on and checked baggage, advanced accessible property body scanning, alarm resolution, and this is really what biometric ID verification tools do with BigBear. Excuse me, and Big Bear is focused on that. That's what they do. So when we're looking at the markets, you see more requests from TSA here. You see the big beautiful bill, but then you have the pressure of the market right now. While defense spending is expected to explode, we're going to see more defense spending. You still have the government shutdown right now. So the government shutdown's got some pressure on the markets. That's why we see probably more defense stocks selling off recently and then recovering after hours on Friday. You started to see that a little bit here. If you kind of zoom in and take a look at what it looked like after hours Friday, we did see a nice bounce there, and we'll see how that continues. But when we're looking at the revenues and the defense marketing or market right now, as far as revenues, most defense markets are seeing increased money into the defense spending right now. Now, with that being said, the last quarter on Big Bear, they came in with slightly less revenue than they were expecting at 32 million, and they came in with a negative net income that was pretty large. So from a financial perspective, their their financials didn't look very favorable. They've had their revenue basically flat around just 2% gain per year, and they've also seen that negative net income kick in there. Now, they've had major changes happen in the last 6 months. They basically turned from being a company that had been around for a while, they were founded in 1988, to hiring a new CEO, raising a bunch of capital, which they did raise. They're now up to $600 million in assets just in this last quarter, which, as you could tell, we have never seen them have that many millions of dollars in their assets. It's an all-time high for them. And so they increased their capital, their new assets, and then shortly after they got a new CEO, and the new CEO specializes in Department of Homeland Security, as he was serving as the acting secretary, and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner previously. And so that's a lot of changes. And so in that change, you had a goodwill impairment, you had some accounting write-offs that put him at a negative net income. And now we get to say, hey, let's see what this next earnings looks like. Because from a perspective of where they're going financially, they got some more cash. If they come in with a narrowed net income and more revenue, they're going to be on a really good trajectory. Now, when you get into the product, so that's kind of the financials, but when you get into the analysis of the fundamentals and how they're building out their infrastructure, they have a few different products. And I'm not going to go into the Panama Canal as much, although that seems like a very interesting recent deployments as they've been working in the Panama Canal. It's this AI. I could just show you what it looks like. It's an AI view of the different ports. So ocean ports of the shipping and ships coming in and out, and they have real-time alerts that come out when there's anomalies. So essentially, they've been helping the U.S. with establishing more control over the Panama Canal and using AI to do that. So they have AI-powered computer vision for eliminating blind spots, real-time anomaly detection, continuous event observation, all those things with their Arcus AI. But where they're building the infrastructure, and I think there is some revenue to be had in that market that they're entering, but I think where they're going to see the most revenue is kind of what we just talked about on their market of the TSA and in the ports of entry with their Veriscan technology. Their Veriscan technology has this ability to search through the data systems and look at all of the people's, where they're coming from, where they're going, and do the analysis of people. Now, again, when that's just flying from Buenos Aires and we went through LAX, they had this. They have it at JFK, they have it at Charlotte, they have it at Denver International Airport, they have it at the major airports, Heathrow Airport, and they're deploying it not just with the actual TSA and at the airports, but also with the individual airlines, which I thought was interesting. They're going more commercial too by deploying at the gates where people get onto the plane. And that's data potentially, depending on how that data is managed, which it does have to be managed with integrity, that's data that could be very valuable for Delta or for some of the top airlines that they are partnering with. And I've seen those partnerships kind of materialize over the last few months. But what that means for the value of what they're doing from a product standpoint is they're collecting more data and they're building infrastructure that later on could generate revenue. They might not focus on the revenue initially. They might just focus on the infrastructure. And so that's kind of what we're seeing now as they get into Nashville, they can do, again, Chicago airport, and into more airports across the country. And so when they're in, let's say, JFK or LAX, maybe it was cheap and they didn't have a lot of money that they initially received from this deployment. But as the time goes on and they have that infrastructure in place, it's possible they get more contracts related to the actual power and the usage. And so then that brings us to, so that's kind of how that looks pretty good. Kind of brings us, it would be worth it here. Let's take a look at the institutional, the top transactors over in the machine and how this kind of looks. So in the top transactors, and we're looking at BigBear.AI holdings right now, you could see that Vanguard has been buying and that overall there's been many more purchases of this stock from institutions than sells. We got 261 purchases compared to 131 sales. That's quite a lot of increase in sales compare or purchases compared to sells. So on the institutional side, you're seeing more buys from Vanguard and BlackRock and JP Morgan compared to the sells there. Not as much selling going on as compared to all of the buys. Okay. Insiders, kind of a different story. I think there's been more sells than buys on the insider side. You could see, yeah, 72 sells compared to 28 buys. But they've also had literal changes. I mean, when you have the CEO, they've had new directors, new board members, new chairmen. They recently got a new CEO who has definitely been purchasing more shares. But when we're looking at the sells, you can see that that CEO also sold some here in September, but didn't sell a whole lot after that, maybe in June a little bit. But what you're looking at is that most companies that have bought, or most insiders that have bought, have kind of, and so finally that brings us to the technicals. The technicals are showing signs of growth as we mentioned, but there's still some downward momentum down to this 200-day moving average. If we kind of pull up the drawings, let's see what it looks like. So you got a few things to look at here. The first is that you have a rising support level and a rising resistance level, something like this. Not perfect. You could maybe discount that massive surge back in February to an overvaluation at that time. But when you're looking at the market cap and their revenue, you know, it makes sense they've pulled back down because, again, while they've had these new deployments, they haven't had the revenues come in, and we've been waiting. And now they got their earnings coming up. Now, if they come in with great earnings, again, I wouldn't bet on the earnings being really good or anything like that. We'll just have to see what they come out with. But if they come out with some good earnings and sentiment shifts, let's say that the government reopens as well, you could be looking at a continuation of the trend up into this, you know, $9 to $10 range, something like this, a continuation on Big Bear as they build out this infrastructure ahead of the World Cup, ahead of the Olympics. Those are the types of events that would really put them in a good position if they're the main company that's looking to deploy. And so when you got 50% to, you know, potentially 100% if they continue in this direction, the upside seems to be big. They're down to that 200-day moving average, but they do have a sell-off in place, obviously. See this red kicked in right here and a critical moment around earnings that you'd want to watch closely. They're right at the support level. The RSI and the MACD are now looking more on the oversold side, which would indicate more of a buying opportunity. When you go down to the 4-hour, kind of a similar deal. You see that sell down, kind of continuing the potential trend. They did bounce there on Friday. And so the next target for them, or next level of support they're going to face, is about a 10% bounce up to $6. That's where they're close to right now. So the next level here is around $6 a share. They push up above $6 a share. Now we're starting to see them get into a level of, okay, $6 a share. They're going to be looking for that target around $7 to up here into that $7 or $8.50 range. And so we're watching to see if a big move happens this week. And again, if you want to take a bet on BigBear.AI and would do it even without adding to your position or selling or buying at all, if you join Stockmates, I have some calls going out on this company. Personally, I think they might do well, but again, we'll see how it goes. But I've had some long-term positions since $2.80 back before that huge $10 run. And if you ever want to watch our daily live trading sessions, then you could get access to the daily live trading sessions. And if BigBear.AI closes above $7.50 by the 15th of November here, then you will get Stockmate for free. So you get a full refund of Stockmate. So if you want to join our daily live trading sessions, get the link every morning, Monday through Friday. and get a free t-shirt that you keep no matter what. That's the offer. And it's the second link in the description. So again, if I win with some calls, great. Then I can afford to give you access and give you a refund on Stockmate. And then if we don't win, let's say it doesn't go according to plan, hey, you get to keep Stockmate and have access to our daily live trading sessions along with all the learning materials on AI, quantum, space, and tech stocks to learn how to invest in this market. So again, the second link below, would love to have you there tomorrow morning. And in order for it to be eligible, you got to get in before market open tomorrow, Monday, the 10th. So I appreciate you all. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts on BigBear.AI. Do you think that this is that next continuation of their overall uptrend as well? Or do you think that they're having a lot of pressure from the government and that if they don't open, we might see more downward pressure? Let me know in the comment sections below and do consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.